New Orleans football, will the Saints make a pick at 29? So with the Sean Payton trade, the Saints now have a first-round pick, number 29. So generally, I think the two biggest things that fans get confused with is salary cap and draft picks. People make a huge deal about draft picks, and they always want to take the same players. Like, if you go ask 20 casual fans to do a mock draft for the Saints, I guarantee you out of 7 picks, at least 5 will be offensive players. At least 1 will be a quarterback. And it'll be like that every year. Really what I think drafts, I'm a big proponent for best player available. I think that the best strategy is instead of filling a need early on, you just take the best player available. You try and stockpile as much good players as you can. Now, if one of those fits your need, like the Saints need an interior defensive line. They need secondary help. They need a running back, stuff like that. So if players fall that do both, they're the best player available and they fill a need, great. But I don't think just because the Saints have the 29th pick, I don't think they have to spend that 29th pick on a quarterback. There's no need to reach. So let's see what Nick Underhill, Mike Triplett say from New Orleans Football. Links will be in the description.
Hey, welcome to the Dot presented by Matt Bowers Auto.
God,
we are out.
Damn, Nicholas, look at the sunburn. Is it coming through on y'all's screen? Where are they? Are they? Oh my God, are they actually on the sun? Oh, they're in Mobile. Okay, they're at the Senior Bowl. They're in Alabama. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, look, let's do a PSA here. It's important to wear sunscreen. All right, SPF. Even SPF 4, a daily SPF. Just go, moisturize your face and make sure you're protecting yourself against the sun. The sun is a ruthless star. It's a ruthless, burning, hot, fiery, gaseous star. So, if you're going to be out in it, go ahead and pack a little screen.
Out at the Senior Bowl, taking a look at some of the prospects in this year's draft. And the Saints got the 29th pick in the upcoming draft by trading Sean Payton. Now, we know their DNA. This is not a patient team. They don't typically sit back and try to maximize.
I mean, I can't get over this. He has a sunglass tan line in, I don't know when this video was, but I'm doing this on February 3rd. A man's got a sunglasses tan line on February 3rd.
Their swings, they aren't trying to walk to first base. They're trying to hit their way to third base every single time. Do you expect them to make a pick at 29? If you had to go to blank sportsbook and place a bet right now on them selecting at 20.
I always use Caesars. Not sponsored by Caesars. I think Caesars is a great sports book if you're looking to get into sports betting, which if you watch this YouTube channel, I'm sure you're interested in it. I would recommend Caesars.
29 or dealing the pick or trading up or doing something else. What do you think happens?
Okay, so I'll answer first. 29, all the mock drafts I've done, 29 seems to be a spot where you're hoping either a cornerback falls or a tackle falls, or you are okay with taking the best defensive lineman. So I would be fine with trading it. If I was a head coach / GM, I would probably generally trade my first round pick. I trade down a few times, probably almost every year. I think forward looking, that's the best way to do it. Unless you have a Cam Newton, Andrew Luck situation where, hey, this is a generational talent, I got to take this player. But if you have the 4th pick and you trade down twice to the 13th pick and you get a ton of draft capital, I think the combination of draft capital you get and the player is probably okay. The amount of times that people hit on first round picks is very small. So I would rather have, I'll put it to you really simply, I would rather have 2 seconds than 1 first, if that makes sense. Because the first round picks have way too much pressure on them. I mean, just like this year, I've seen a lot of people saying we should draft Tanner McKee, the quarterback from Stanford, at 29. Who the hell is Tanner McKee? Y'all think Tanner McKee is going to step in and be the next Drew Brees? You're going to waste a first-round pick on him? How about we just trade down and relax? Now, the other option is trading up. The other option is to package the 29th pick with something else, move up to take a player you actually have your eyes on, something like the Chris Olave thing. You know you want that guy. You got some leverage, move up and get him. I think it would be fine to move down. I think it would be fine to not take a quarterback this draft. If they do move up, I'm interested to hear who they would be targeting, because you have to move up a lot to get one of the big dogs.
I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say they pick at 29, but I want that sportsbook to give me 3-1 odds on that because I think I'm calling the upset here. But yeah,
3-1's insane.
This team is going to remain aggressive. This team is trying to win the NFC South this year. This team believes it can. This team believes in its current roster. We're not talking about a rebuilding team. But we have heard enough on the record and off the record from talking to people around here that I think they do also see the value in stockpiling a little bit.
There you go. There you go.
They want to add up those picks a little more.
Yep.
I think they kind of want to stay put and get a lot of swings at the plate. Easier said than done because then we always watch him fall in love with the player. A couple years ago, they tried to trade up from 27 to 8 because they wanted a corner. They didn't even just want to do that for a quarterback. So I think I'm taking the gamble here, but I actually think we're going to slowly but surely, as we saw a little bit with their free agent spending last year too, see them try to find this marriage between trying to win now, but also trying to stockpile assets to make sure.
Great answer. I mean, you know it's a good answer when I let people talk. I generally pause the video every 4 to 5 seconds. I would love to know my average for pausing the video. But if I let someone go on, they're making great points and they're basically saying what I would say. I'm going to reiterate what Mike's saying here. The Saints aren't rebuilding. We got to get that straight. You know, the fan base and Twitter and all that stuff, they make it sound like the Saints are the worst team in the NFL and we're on a 5-year rebuilding plan. That's not the case. There are pieces that need to move. There, absolutely. We have to figure out what's going on with Michael Thomas. We have to figure out what's going on with some of the older players we brought in, the Jarvis Landrys, the Tyrann Matthews. We're going to have some aging players like Cam Jordan. We need to figure out who's replacing Marcus Davenport, even though I could probably go out there and play and have the same production as Marcus Davenport. Obviously the quarterback, Dalton, is right now slotted as the starter, but that's not a long-term situation. Kamara, there's question marks about Kamara. I would bring him back. I love Kamara. Then we have our young wide receiver core. The Saints aren't rebuilding, but they're not in a position to win it all. But they are in a position to win the NFC South, like Mike said. So if you're Loomis, you have to try and position yourself to win the NFC South. That is the goal. If the season started tomorrow, God, I wish it did. If the season started tomorrow, you are going to try and position your roster to go and win the NFC South, host a playoff game without giving up too much. You don't want to give up assets just to be the 12th best team in the NFL, your division winner, and one and done in the playoffs. So I'm cool with taking care of some of the other positions, not worrying about quarterback, not going and getting Derek Carr, not trading up for Anthony Richardson, none of that stuff. I'm fine with Dalton, really. I'm fine with Dalton. If he does the exact same thing he did this year, go in free agency, spend the money you would spend on a quarterback to shore up the secondary, to shore up the defensive line, get those things in check, win the South, and this is all predicated on Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael not being the two biggest clowns in the NFL, checking in to see if they are the coaches of the future. And then if you're on that precipice, I mean, what unbelievable. We're using precipice. We're using predicated. The amount of the vocabulary on this channel is out of control. If all that works, and you're looking around, you're like, man, we won 9-10 games. We won the South. We're kind of in a spot. We've got young players developing into really good assets here. We have a full draft coming up. We're talking like next year. I think then you take the big swing. Then you say, all right, let's go get the big quarterback in free agency. Let's go trade for the big quarterback or whatever. But bringing in a quarterback now, I don't think is necessary. We're not rebuilding, but we're not trying to win the Super Bowl. Bottom line, we're trying to win the South. We're trying to be better than last year. We're trying to shore up some cap situations. We're trying to cut some older kind of dead weight on the roster, and we're trying to get younger. I think the Saints were on average the oldest team in the NFL last year. Double check me on that and let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure on average snap, so the way they do it is like per snap, the average age. So that's how they count. They don't count like age on the roster, because if certain players aren't playing, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure we had the oldest average age. So the Saints had to get younger, the Saints have to get cheaper, and the Saints have to stay relevant. And I think we can do that. I'm actually kind of optimistic about the whole thing.
That the cover doesn't go bare.
I'm going to take the other side of that, actually, and I think they'll tell us right now that they plan on making those picks and they want to swing the bat as many times as possible. But this is a long time for them to sit there and look at their assets and make a plan on what they're going to do. Just historically, we haven't seen them stand pat. Now, I know Sean Payton's out of the building now, and he was typically the driving force behind that. But even last year, they made the big trade with him gone. So I'm gonna take the other side of it. I just can't picture it, but we'll see. They at least have options now, and that's a good thing. They didn't really feel like they had options before, but
That's a great thing. The fact that they can either stay put, move up, move back, compared to 2 weeks ago when we had no options, that's why I'm so optimistic. The Saints, just any team, all you want are options. All you want is the ability to do things. You don't want to just do nothing. You don't want to have, and that's what makes teams bad for a long time, are teams that just don't do anything, teams that just sit, teams that just take the safe pick every time. They don't make trades. They don't sign people in free agency. I was recently listening to an interview with Matt Rule, and he was talking about what he would have done differently in Carolina. And he said, if I knew I only would have had whatever it was, a year and a half, if I knew I would only have that, I think it was a season of 5 games, I would have made a big trade, or I would have signed a big free agent quarterback. And I think teams, they do that where they are too complacent and they just mire in mediocrity. That's another good word, mire. They just mire in mediocrity, and they go into the season with a Sam Darnold or a Teddy Bridgewater or a Trevor Siemian or a Taylor Heineke, and they say, all right, let's see what happens. And they should know what's going to happen. You're not going to be competitive in those situations. You're not going to be competitive if that's your quarterback and that's your roster, and it's just not going to happen. So I'm glad the Saints have options. I trust Loomis. I'm not worried at all about if he trades up and goes and gets somebody. I think that'd be fine. So we're in a good spot, ladies and gentlemen.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they traded that pick for a quarterback or they got a higher pick. I just can't picture them sitting still.
You're taking the chalk here. I'm the one making the bold claim here.
All right, so we'll see how it plays out. But hey, we got the draft to talk about now. So
Listen, Nick, I'm telling you, SPF 6. I mean, I can't get over the skin. I mean, this guy, he might as well have spent the last week. Is the Senior Bowl in Mobile or in the Bahamas? I mean, I can't believe this. I wish I was with them just for the sun. I wouldn't even have went into the Senior Bowl. I would have just sat in the parking lot and got the sun, got the tan that these two young men have got. I've never seen two people, one in a windbreaker, shell jacket, not allowing any temperature in, triple layer jacket, pullover, shirt. Other fella in a sweatshirt, and both rocking this kind of sun damage. I mean, the weather, I'm absolutely flabbergasted by the weather. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. In the comments below, 2 things. First, which SPF do you think that the New Orleans football crew should bring? SPF 6, 8, 50, what are y'all thinking? And also, what do you think? Do the Saints make a pick at 29? Do they trade up? Do they trade down? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Ladies and gentlemen.